gentlemen, and welcome. I am Tommy Marks. I'm the Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council and the Director of the Virginia Minority Business Development Agency's Business Center. On behalf of our President and CEO of the Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council, Sharon R. Pender, who is the operator of the Virginia Business Center, we welcome you to another of our monthly webinars. Well, today we will provide some key information on access to capital, featuring our special guests, M&T Bank, and we will get to that. So the Virginia Minority Business Development Center is located in Alexandria, Virginia, with a satellite office in Richmond. We cover our primary coverage is in the state of Virginia, but we have clients throughout the DMV, and in fact, throughout the United States, where we provide business consultation on behalf of the Minority Business Development Agency, which is a U.S. Department of Commerce Bureau with the mission to service minority businesses with business consultation for the last 54 years. The center on a monthly basis, we do webinars. This one is going to focus on access to capital, and I'll remember to say it at the end, but our next one next month will be focused on two federal agencies, the SBA 8A office and the Office of Personnel Management, your small business office. Again, we welcome you, and I know you're going to enjoy this. The short overview for today, if you will, is that we're going to be talking about access to capital with M&T Bank, finance and business growth, and that this discussion is targeted toward our minority business community. And our panelists, who I will introduce momentarily, will give an overview of expectations of small business banking relationships and a few different financing options that M&T Bank provides in their day-to-day mission as they work in support of the small business community. So I'm going to ask my guests to come on camera, and I'm just going to share a little bit about each of them as they tag team and share with us their wisdom and knowledge on the ins and outs of financing in the small business world. And trust me, they know, the idiosyncrasies and barriers and the challenges that small businesses have, but they are in the small business banking arena. So today we have Ms. Anna Gonzalez and Mr. Gary Ranofsky. Anna's based out of Maryland and covers Maryland, DC side of the Potomac, if I remember that correctly, and Gary is on the Virginia side. And just a little bit about Anna, and I told them both, I won't eulogize them, but it's always good to know who's talking to you. It might make you sit up a little higher in your seat, right? Because the wisdom's coming from the experts. So Ms. Gonzalez, she is actually a Vice President, Senior Relations Manager for M&T Bank, and she covers, as I said, DC and suburban Maryland business banking group. Over 20 years of experience in the banking business and professional service industry. She managed a portfolio of approximately $45 million in lending and over $50 million in deposits. And that's with working with more than 8,000 small businesses under her portfolio. Okay, so, she knows a little bit, just a little, about this business that we're going to talk about, right? And she has a wide range of experience in the banking and business lending, and to include SBA loans. So Anna, want to hit another little tidbit. She serves on the Maryland Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. She's also a proud board member of the Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council, and she also serves on an active supporter of the Salvadorian and the Silver Springs Chamber of Commerce. So Anna, please welcome today to work with us. and Mr. Gary Ranowski. He's vice president. See, so, we got big hitters, folks, big hitters, taking the time out to work with us today. Gary is vice president, relationship manager for M&T Bank on the Virginia business banking side. And that group, we have one thing in common. We're both veteran retirees. Though he went Navy, and I did a little Army thing. Of course, Navy kind of dominated us, West Point many years on the football field. Gary started his professional career, former naval flight officer, and served over 20 years before retiring in 2022. He got into the banking business after that. He's very involved in the local community and stays connected to the veterans community. He quickly realized M&T was the family that he wanted to join, and he signed on with them. And so today, what we get is two VPs that are going to share their experiences and tips on financing small businesses. So I'm going to stop there on the introductions, and I'll ask them and give them the mic so they could talk to us about what they've come here today to do, and that is to share what M&T does in support of small businesses. Anna and Gary, welcome.
Thank you so much, Tommy. That was an amazing and very, very great introduction. Actually, Gary and I are here to do what we do best as a bank, right? Help our community, guide our community, and work with our community to make your business grow, right? So today's presentation is just going to give you a lot of information. We're going to do a high overview of the presentation, but one of the things that Gary, Tommy, and I and Tommy's team wants today is for us to be a very engaged kind of group, right? Because we know what we know, but then if you don't know something, I need you to ask. I need you to raise your hands on the Zoom meeting, and just if it's something that you don't understand, we are happy to answer those questions, right? And of course, we're going to open it up for Q&A. And I let Gary take it now.
Yeah, thanks, Anna. And thank you, Tommy, again for the introduction. We've got just a few slides that we'll run through and kind of introduce you to the bank and some of what we can offer. But then again, yeah, we're open to your questions, and hopefully we'll touch on some of that during the slides. Anna, if you wanted to just introduce yourself, again, Tommy did a great job introducing us, but if you want to introduce yourself at all, add any to that, please do.
So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Again, my name is Ana Gonzalez. I'm a Vice President, Senior Relationship Manager here at M&T. I have spent the last 10 years here serving at M&T to our small business banking. My client it's $0 to $50 million in revenue, right? And what do I do for my clients? I manage anything to do with their business relationship when it comes to lending. And we're talking about lines of credit, commercial real estate loan, investment real estate loan, acquisition loans, every type of loan that you think you need for your business to grow and for cash flow. That's something that I can help you with. I have been in banking for a little bit over 20 years. I work in some big institution before, but nothing like the family that M&T have shown me as an employee. We are a strong bank. We are a bank that care about employee, care about the community, but most importantly, care about the people that we serve every day. And we understand what's important, right? How can we grow as a bank? But by making our client happy. So I worked in the Baltimore region. I cover Maryland and up to DC at the bridge, and then my friend Gary take it over from there, from the bridge down. So we here to serve, we here to help, and we here to answer any question.
Yeah, thank you, Anna. Again, Gary Rosnowski, pleasure to be here with you guys today. Like Tommy said, I served 20 years in the Navy and retired just last year. And when I, was making that transition, I knew I wanted to get involved in my local community. I wanted to try something professionally that was brand new for me, that challenged me to learn new things every day. And I wanted to stay connected to the veteran community. And M&T really offered me the perfect place to do all three of those things. I get to be involved with my community through connecting with small business owners. And what better way? Small businesses are the heart of any community. So I love building those relationships. And so many of those relationships are with veterans because there are so many veteran-owned small businesses out there. One of the few, or one of the many, minority business enterprises that we deal with at M&T. So it's my portfolio is, compared to Anna's, is tiny, but I'm looking forward to growing that in the coming years, and I'm really happy to be part of the M&T family and sharing a little bit about the bank with you guys today. Next slide. So yeah, I'll just speak a little bit to the history of the bank. We've been in business for over 160 years. We just recently, M&T acquired People's United Bank. I believe that was last year, which extended our footprint basically from Richmond, Virginia, all the way up through Maine. And it made us the 11th largest bank in the U.S. with over $200 billion in assets. We are, have the resources of the 11th largest bank in the U.S., but we are, again, very community focused, and we have a community focused business model. We value long-standing relationships with our customers. We have a strong and well-diversified core deposit base and strong liquidity and capital positions, which I know are important just in the light of recent events in the past week, but we can touch on that later if we want to as well. I'll just note that we've had 186 consecutive quarters of profitability with the bank, and we are a preferred SBA lender and actually the #1 SBA lender in the greater Washington area. Next slide.
So one thing that we always want you guys to know what you should expect from a bank or banker, right? I think that personal relationship, it's what a business owner needs to focus on to be successful in your business. And if I was in front of you, I will ask everybody to raise their hands. How many of you guys know your banker, right? Or really know your banker at the bank that you bank with today? And, is your bank being proactively meeting with you? Strategically have a vision for your business. Understand what products and service to recommend to you as a business owner, right? Make introduction to you. And what I mean by introduction is the introduction you to other business that could benefit you and that business owner as well. Did they invite you to business development activities, such as, this event today, or any other event that you think, hey, if I go to this event, I can meet certain people that I want trying to get in touch with. And obviously, if I know that person, I'm going to make that introduction for you. Is your bank doing that right now? And also, as a bank, or banker, you need a bank or banker who understand your industry, not just meeting with you and nodding and say, yes, I know, but really, do they understand what you do every day and how you serve your community every day? Next slide, please.
I would just add to what Anna's saying is that on top of just being a banker, we really pride ourselves on being strategic partners with you to really grow your business from start to whatever the finish may be, whatever your exit strategy is down the road. And we want to help you figure that out too. So this slide, what does my business need? And this is about financing business growth. So what does your business need to grow? If many of you may may know exactly what you need in terms of banking or specific facilities or loans, and that's great. And then we can work with you to determine specific financing structure. But if some of you might not be sure what you need, and that's when we, develop the relationship to get to know you and your business to help advise you what your best options are to fit your particular needs in your business, because every business is unique, and there's no cookie cutter banking solutions for everybody out there. So these are just some of the options, and we can go into more detail again if you have questions. But lines of credit are great for short-term working capital needs. Basically anything that can be paid off in less than a year. Term loans are of course, for more permanent working capital. Equipment line or loan limits are great if you have ongoing equipment or vehicle purchasing needs for your business. Purchase cards are obviously a great way to extend your purchasing power, and these days get rewarded for your spending because everything has a rewards program as long as you're using it smartly. Commercial mortgages are available through M&T. If you're looking to buy property, that's a great way to grow your business and build wealth, obviously, as opposed to paying rent. Investment real estate, the same. We're open for business in the investment real estate world. It's a great way to diversify income streams for you and your business. And then SBA financing, we'll touch on in a little more detail, but again, #1 SBA lender in the area. SBA is a great program and a crucial tool for small business growth, especially startups or anybody that's looking to acquire a smaller business. Next slide.
So the bank credit culture, we use the 7 C's of credit to be able to sort of understand not only your business, but you as a business owner. So we focus on the following, character's huge for us, right? What is you as a business owner telling us, right? Integrity of the borrower, willingness to pay back, principal, guarantor, personal credit score. We look at that. And then capacity, right? Cash flow. How is your business able to pay back the loan that you were borrowing from M&T Bank or any bank for that matter, right? So the borrower ability to repay the loan. The global cash flow, and when I mean global cash flow, and we can, of course, elaborate a little bit more on this, is your wealth combined with the business wealth. So we call that a business global cash flow. The break-even analysis, right? The sensation of operation result, right? And then projection. What are you projecting your business to do in the next 3 to 5 years? Capital, borrow investment in business or project, financial strength, personal and business, we look at that as well, as I mentioned in the capacity cash flow. The collateral is big. If you are doing a term loan, we need to sort of have not only a guarantor, which is going to be the business owner, but also collateral. How can we, if the business go under or if the business does not able to pay, how can we protect the bank and you from repaying the loan? So secondary source of repayment, marketable loan, term life insurance, ease of liquidity, effect of the COVID-19 on collateral, and and then conditions, right? Conditions, micro and microeconomic environment, industry condition and result. When we do the loan, for me, I always look at vertical IQ to understand the condition of your business. But I feel like no one else knows the condition of your business, your industry, more than you as a business owner, right? Because I'm not there, and I think that what we see in a vertical IQ is a very high overview of data that somebody who probably never worked in your industry, put in there. So I rely heavily on you as a business owner to help me understand your condition of your business. COVID-19, of course, short or long-term impact. How did that affect your business? Recovery plan. Hey, what's your estimation time that you're going to go back on top, and how long it's going to take you to do that? What is your contingency plan, right? If this has happened again, And we don't know if it will, we don't know if we will not. But if we will, what is your plan to sustain operation? And then common sense, right? It's crucial during a certain time, because as banker, at least M&T Bank and Gary can talk a little bit more about this. The bank gave us the freedom to go and understand and use common sense, whether we want to approve a loan or not, based on the character, the capacity, the capital, the collateral, the conditions, right, of that business. But we also look heavily on you as an owner, the character, how your behavior in terms of taking money from your operation, and as the term we use in banking is making your company bleed, right? So those are the type of things that we heavily focus on when we're looking at a loan package deal, the 7 C's. Next slide, please.
Okay, so when the M&T Bank, or when a bank considers doing business with a customer, we're going to do our own due diligence and risk calculations, and that's all centered around our belief in your ability to repay a loan. So in order to determine that, and along with the 6 C's of credit, or 7 C's of credit, there's dozens of complicated ratios and predictive numbers out there that we're not going to get into the weeds of, but these are just two of the sort of most common and most prominent that we look at, and that most banks are going to look at: debt service coverage ratio and debt to income ratio. And to put it simply, the debt service coverage, or DSCR, it's a ratio of your cash flow to your debt. And I would just, to highlight back on the previous slide and what Anna was talking about, for M&T, we're traditionally a cash flow lender, which basically means we're always going to look at cash flow from a business as the primary source of repayment, as opposed to collateral. Now that can, differ for certain types of term loans, but and I hesitate to use the words always or never, but traditionally, again, M&T is going to look at collateral as a secondary or tertiary source of repayment. We're always going to look at cash flow first. So anyway, back to DSCR. You hear numbers thrown out there like 1.2, 1.1, 1.25. Different banks are going to have different numbers. It's basically saying what we're looking for is to see that for every dollar of debt that you have in your business, you're going to have $1.20 to cover that, $1.20 in cash flow. So that's what that number means. And then we'll debt to income ratio is similar but different, and it's just another way. It's sort of a backwards ratio. You're looking at below 40%. I'm sorry. Yeah, anything below 40%, it indicates that you'd have a cushion or additional cash flow to take on more debt down the road if necessary, or if anything came up that could be a problem for your business. Did I miss anything on that one, Anna?
No, I think this is great. Again, if you look at the notes below, it's a strong, DCCR or DTI does not mean instant approval, right? It means that you have a better chance to get a loan, right? So we also have to look at everything else to consider your loan, especially your character, right? What type of plan do you have? Did COVID-19 put you in the red for 2-3 years? Have you taken the EIDL loan, and how does that get in pay? Or there's so many different things that we look at. So yeah, you might have the 1.2, 1.25, and yes, you probably will be low debt to income below 40%, but we still have to look at the rest of the 7 C's to make sure that we consider approval.
Could you go back one slide for Anna, please? Yeah, go ahead, Anna.
So the real estate loan structure guideline, so let's say that you're looking to buy a commercial real estate property for you to operate your business. We call that own and occupy. If you decide to, okay, this space is too big for me, but I'm really interested in the space, you may want to rent a percentage of that. If you rent 40% but occupy 60%, we still consider that own and occupy property, right? So for this loan, we look at a target of 80% for owner occupy office, flex retail, whatever your business is focused on. 75% for investment real estate. So 80% mean that M&T Bank would approve that 80% of whatever loan. If the loan is for $1 million, we need 20% down on that. If it's for investment real estate, that's why I mentioned the own and occupy. If it's for investment real estate, we will only approve 75%. And for less special purpose properties, we do 65%, right? And that it's churches and those type of things. Those are special purpose properties that we finance. Term and amortization, we do term up to 10 years, and we amortize our loan for 25 years. When the 10-year term comes due, we do a automatic renew for the additional term, but we also give you the capacity and the ability and the choice to say, Anna, you know what? I'm going to pay off my loan. My business is doing so good that I'm going to be able to pay that loan, and there's no prepayment penalty for that. Or at that time, if you're not happy with that, which I seriously doubt it, then you can choose to take your loan elsewhere. But those are the choices, and that's what 10-year term, 25-year amortization mean. Next slides, please.
So that was real estate. I'm going to touch on non-real estate. And again, if you notice the headlines, guidelines, like I said before, nothing is cookie cutter, and these are not like hard and fast rules. They're sort of guidelines and general rules of thumb. But you can see the numbers there, just general explanation. Unsecured debt, for anybody that's not familiar, is debt that's not backed by any collateral, including cash flow collateral, or like accounts receivable or anything like that. So for smaller loans, we can do unsecured, and less than 100,000. Lines of credit, which we kind of touched on, anything less than 950 was going to be what we call self-managed line, which basically just means there's no borrowing base. Some banks may ask you, like, if they give you a line of credit, but then every time you want to draw on it, they ask to see financials, or they ask to see stuff quarterly. We just typically are going to ask to see stuff annually. And again, lines of credit are generally paid off on a yearly basis anyway. So you can move the money around on your own. We're not going to be hindering you or asking to see financials along the way. And then term loans for non-real estate, equipment secured, again, collateral being the equipment there, 5 to 7 years or up to 10 years for very valuable equipment. And then kind of similar for business acquisitions. And we talked on the ability of doing acquisitions with SBA as well, and that can get you up to 10 years on the term there.
And Gary, just to go back here, because I get a lot of questions when I always do this presentation in regard to, the guideline of the bank. One of the things that make M&T Bank so unique is that we work with our credit officer, right? And we see them face to face, and we tell the story about your business, the story about you, how this business started, and what is your plan in the next 5 years? Because we ask so many questions, and we know you so well, and we sort of an additional employee of your business on. Even we're not getting paid from your business, I put myself into your business as I'm an employee to better understand it, and then go back into the story to the underwriter. a lot of the time, what I do with my underwriter is, or credit officer, I bring them to meet you, the client, so they can better understand your business from your own lips, right? Because nobody can tell the story better than you, right? So I usually, and that's something that they're willing to do, that is M&T expertation. And we do this about 3 to 4 times a year, where we take credit office to meet clients. Not necessarily client, but prospect, right? Prospect that, hey, I'm thinking of doing this loan. And and so we take them to meet you as a client. And I think it's a great thing. I work in 2 other institutions and that never happened. I didn't even meet a credit officer. One bank I worked for 13 years, and the other bank I worked for 7.5 years, never met a credit officer. Everything was email or telephone. And that's what makes us unique here in M&T Bank. Next slide, please. SBA loan, the benefits, and the number one, access to capital, right? I think that M&T have built such a strong relationship with the SBA lending in the greater Washington, and that including Virginia, obviously Maryland, DC, that every client know and every prospect know that we are the bank they should go for questions in terms of SBA. Other lenders send us client and prospect because they know that we know how to do it, we do it right, and we make sure that the customers are extremely aware of what are the conditions, what the guidelines, and what is the outcome of an SBA loan. So we normally focus on no prepayment penalty on loans less than 15 years. So you do a loan here and you decide to refinance the loan or take it to another bank, then we'll let you go, no prepayment penalty. Competitive market rate, pricing caps, right? Longer maturity date, then conversional loan, and express loan up to $500,000. And Gary touched on something earlier, that less than $100,000, we don't need collateral, but that's also pretty fast. That's what we call the express loan. So M&T goes up to 100, that's conversional. SBA go up to $500,000. They do need collateral, and they have their own guidelines that we had to obey by, but it's $500,000. That the process is extremely easy. Multiple programs, lines and loans up to $5 million. And then broad definition of small business, right? What type of small business? Any small business. And we call our small business up to $50 million in lending. Anything after that, $50 million in revenue, $15 million in lending. And after that, we call our commercial banking group. And flexible use of proceed. So working capital is one of the things that we lend for. Business acquisition, debt refinancing, leasehold improvement, acquire land, equipment purchase of improvement building. And equipment purchase could be a truck, an airplane, just to mention some stuff. I did a recyclable machine here in Maryland, a huge recyclable machine for $11 million. That's an equipment loan. So there's so many different things that we can lend to, and it's considered part of equipment. And of course, very few banks do land, acquire land, just a plain land without a building attached to it. Next slide, please.
Okay, we'll just hopefully get to your questions soon, but I think this is our last real slide. Obviously, any good relationship is going to have a good two-way communication. So as we get to know you and building a relationship, We want to answer your questions, but we're of course going to have questions for you. And this is just on this slide, some examples of some of the questions we're going to ask a small business to get to know you guys. And like Anna said, kind of put ourselves in place. So when we go to our underwriters to advocate for you and your business, this is how we do it, by answering these types of questions and more. But these are just some examples.
I should mention that we are, and sorry to interrupt, Gary, but
Sure.
It's important for us to put ourselves out there. And I love being humble, but when it comes to M&T Bank, I love to just tell people with the amazing thing that we're doing. M&T Bank is coming as one of the larger government contract and lending in the region, in the market, right? And then so we have specialties, products, and services, and relationship managers just like Gary and I, who focus on government contracting, restaurants, retails. So we have expert in every single matter when it comes to lending in M&T Bank. And I'm very proud to say that not every bank has those type of available resources to make sure that if you call Gary or myself or email us, if we're not an expert on that subject, we're going to put you in front of the person that can help us.
And next slide, I think, yeah, just Q&A. I see we've got some questions in the Q&A on Zoom here. And Tommy, welcome back. And I think Alice was going to walk through this, so I won't step on her toes. But
hey, no problem. Great information. In fact, we're going to start with those questions in the Q&A chat.
Thank you. Good
Alice.
afternoon. This is Alice Williams. We have approximately 5 questions right now. We have Tanisha, who's located in Texas, and she's asking if this information is only for the local community.
so I will say that, yes, M&T is a regional bank. And as I touched on in the beginning, our footprint currently is from Virginia through Maine. I won't get into the legalities, but it ultimately comes down to legalities of different disclosures in different states across the country to say that we generally only are going to be loaning to businesses within our footprint. Now, there are some exceptions in terms of if you live in Texas, but your business has an address of some sort in M&T's footprint, or vice versa. If you live in Virginia, but your business operates out of Texas, well, because you still have a Virginia address, we can still do business with you and bank with you there. But at least some aspect of it has to be in M&T's footprint. And the only caveat I'll add to that is, while we don't do it now, I've been told that coming in 2024, hopefully, we're going to start doing SBA loans nationally. But there's more to come on that ahead.
Thank you so much, Gary. The next question we have is from Mr. Miller. He wants to know, how does the recent bank events impact M&T Bank?
That's a great question. And we have gotten so many different calls and we gotten so many different emails. Gary said something very important in our beginning of our presentation. We've been in business for almost 150 years, right? And we've been through tons of crush of different banks, right? But we still strong. M&T believe in doing lending and doing business the right way. And some clients, again, M&T Bank is not for every client. M&T Bank is for clients who understand our practice, our guideline, and how we like to do business. And I think that's what keep us in tune with what could happen in the future. Just like we ask you for sort of like a business plan or a 3 to 5 year projection, we look at that when we lending money to our clients. And quite frankly, we tell the customer that, hey, as a bank, we projecting that you're going to look this way in 3 years, this way in 4 years, and this way in 5 years, right? Based on that, we're going to put some type of restriction. And when I'm saying restriction, I'm talking about covenants, right? Asking you for financial on a yearly basis or every 6 months, because we need to make sure that we're not just give you a loan for $2, $3, $4 million and we forget about you right into the loan mature. We want to make sure that every 6 months to a year, we collect financials from you and we see how your business is operating. If we notice that something is happening, for example, some client take too much capital too much money out of their own company to pay themselves at the end of the year, we sort of want to stop that or maybe control that to a point like, hey, we want to make sure that the cash flow stay with a 1.25 before we can for the next year, right? To make sure that you're in a good place. But that's what we call the relationship manager, right? Which is what we do. We don't just forget about you or just put you to the side when we bring you to the bank as a new client. We guide you. We literally an employee of your corporation, and we meet 4 times a year. Meeting that being set up from the beginning of our conversation, I'm immediately telling you, hey, in 3 months, 4 months, when is the next time that we can meet? And it's already on our calendar, not only yours, but also mine. So M&T is extremely careful, but it's a very strong bank when it comes to planning for the future.
Thank you so much, Anna. The
I
next
would just
question-
add, Alice, if I can, the bottom line of what Anna's saying is M&T is throughout its history been a very conservative bank. And, you know, some people may look at that as quote unquote boring or, you know, low risk tolerance, which again is not going to be for every customer, but it is, I think it shines a light on M&T in more turbulent economic times. The low risk bank is not going to be someone that a lot of businesses maybe want to do business with in very good economic times, but in more turbulent times, somebody that's been, you know, that has a secure foundation like M&T does, and has been around for over 160 years, it's going to seem very appealing, I would think. So.
Thanks, Gary. Appreciate it. The next question, I believe you already answered, but it relates to doing business with companies in Texas. So I'm going to go to the next question, and that is from Tanisha. And she says, the common requirement we are hearing for loan qualifications is having good credit score first and foremost. Can you expand on that?
Sure. I would touch
Sorry,
on.
Gary, I was on mute. If you want me to take that, I'm okay with that.
That's all right. I would just highlight what Anna and I kind of both mentioned, which is the difference between, you know, personal cash flow and business cash flow, and your personal credit history and your business credit history. 2 separate things, but the bank is going to look at both, especially for startups. And as you develop a banking relationship, part of the importance of that is building a credit history for your business. So when you mention credit scores, I'm assuming you're talking about personal credit scores, and correct me if I'm wrong there, but yes, if you're starting a business from scratch or looking to acquire a business and you don't have business financials for us to look at, we're just going to be looking at you and your personal financial history and your credit score. So yes, that's going to be very important when we're considering a loan.
And I add to that because we have such an amazing relationship with our credit officer, we can tell your story. Why is your credit looks like this, right? And then on top of that, you know, I think we're very flexible when it comes to credit. We do, our guideline is 685 and above. But if you have a credit history and said to me, Anna, here's what happened, right? I mean, some of us have stuff in our credit that really are completely under our control, but we're working on it, right? That is the story that you got to tell me and Gary at the beginning of our conversation, so we don't waste each other time. Because if I know that your credit's not there, then I say, okay, let's work on this, let's clean this. Here's a website that you can use for that. And then 3-4 months from now, when it's updated, then I can go back, we can come back and help you, right? And get a better sort of also approval when it comes to sending the loan to the credit officer. But we always tell the story. We always tell your story.
Thank you so much, Gary. And I have one last question here. It's a very good question. It says, if you are still repaying the SBA EIDL loan, how does that impact the ability to get additional lock or loans?
That's an amazing question, actually, because it doesn't have any impact. So the EIDL loan is 30 years at 3.75 interest rate. And unless you got a different term, please let me know. I could be wrong. But you have 30 years to repay that. And if you can see, based on the interest rate today and what the SBA did, it's a pretty good deal, right? So we look at that as part of your sort of liability, right? So if, let's just, for example, Anna, I owe the SBA $300,000. I'm going to pay that in 30 years at 3.75, but I really need a line of credit for $200,000 because XYZ, right? That EIDL loan was for you to sort of not close your business down. We understand as a bank that that's exactly what happened. So now your liability is going to be $500,000. So the cash flow that we put together has to be 1.25 for $500,000, right? Because we had to add the $300,000 to your liability or your debt to sort of income when it comes to the business.
Thank you so much, Anna. Mr. Marks, that's all the questions that I have at this time.
Okay.
Back up to you.
Yes, great responses. Just a couple, I got a couple that I want to ask. That I think I got specific, some folks wrote in. Clearly, we know that you work with the entire small business community. So this question is specifically about M&T's lending to minority and disadvantaged businesses. Can you talk to that?
I can probably speak first, and then Gary can speak as well. I got to tell you that when you ask that question, you know, a sort of feeling of joy and pride, it comes to me because, as I mentioned in the beginning, I work for 2 big institutions. And one of the reasons I left those institutions is because there was always an excuse every time I submitted a loan for a minority-owned business, and they can sort of look at the name of the guarantor and sort of like without any explanation, the loan was declined. And I didn't have that ability to sort of tell the story of a client. At M&T Bank, we are proactively looking and searching to lend to minority-owned business because that's what we are. We are a bank that focuses on minority, right? Our CEO, it's minority. We focus on bringing people into this bank that understand our business out there. So when I tell you M&T is huge in lending to minority, we have our own team that focus on lending to minority-owned business in Baltimore. We're trying to do the same thing in Virginia. We have somebody in here in Rockville, Annapolis. We have the expert, the experience, the products, and the service to understand our community.
Thanks, Anna.
I'd echo that and throw in the veteran community as well.
I wanted you to do that because we're huge on that as well. But I didn't want to say I want you to come from you. We're huge on that.
Absolutely. And you know, some people don't always think of veterans as a minority, but I mean, it's a very small percentage of the population. And I know M&T, you know, focused on that when they were sort of recruiting and hiring me. And that was part of the reason I came here, is because they're attention and focus on the veteran community, not just in hiring, but obviously in doing business and banking with veteran-owned businesses. And that's been my focus as I build my portfolio and my book of business is veterans.
Thanks very much. So how do you all look at, the question is, how do you evaluate newly awarded contracts? So I just want a contract. And, a lot of times, as I'm counseling companies, they go out and they win contracts, but we know sometimes that, what is that term? The cart before the horse, right? And then, and I often tell folks, winning the contract is one thing, executing it is another. And part of that execution is being able to finance that contract, right? Because we know most people, especially the federal government, you're not getting paid at net plus one. They try to hold them to net 30, and we know that's tough. So how do you all incorporate that or evaluate that?
That's a great question, Gary. And again, M&T Bank really understand what's important, right? And I'm not just playing a commercial. This is truly work, because what we do as a bank is we focus on your backlog report. That's how we lend money to you. You might not have enough account receivable. You might not have enough sort of capital, right, to repay us back, but we focus the loan that you are requesting on your backlog report. Those contracts that are won, 90% of the agency require for you to have a very healthy line of credit for you to be able to fund those projects before you get paid. And we understand that, right? Now, I don't know that there's a banker in M&T Bank who don't understand the lending to the backlog report. It goes through the same process as every other loan, but the underwriter, our credit officer, understand, hey, there's not enough collateral, there's not enough capital, there's not enough cash flow, but here's the contract backlog report that it got to be finished in the next 5 years. So there's in order to start this project, I need a line of credit for X amount of money. So yes, we've extremely educated and we focus a lot on that. We sort of, government contracting is huge on that, Tommy's, right? Because a lot of that government contracting agency, you need to get a line of credit before you even apply for the contract. And you have to show that as part of your application that you have the capital to sustain the project if you win it.
Thanks, Sonia.
I would just add, Tommy, it all goes back to telling your story to our underwriters. And the more GovCon businesses, and I highlight GovCons because we have done that, and especially here in the National Capital Region, it's such a prominent business model in the industry. But we all know it can happen all the time. You can go from like 3 employees, with a $2 million subcontract, and next day you decide, I'm going to bid on this, $20 million prime contract, and you win it. And you need to hire 10 new employees, and your business is going to like triple in size. That kind of thing happens all the time. So as we, as a bank and as relationship managers, learn more and more and have more experience in that GovCon sector and about those types of situations that arise, it allows us to better tell your story to the underwriter and explain, like, yes, they had a small, maybe $1 million revenue last year, but they're with this new contract, they're looking at going up to 5 million in revenue next year or whatever it is. So it's all about telling that story.
Understood. So here's the last question, and it ties back to I don't qualify for loan or line of credit. The question is, does your bank provide credit card options? Is the question that was submitted to me. For MBEs that may not be loan or LOC ready?
I guess that the question, the answer is yes. But I guess on that, I will ask, is a sole proprietor company. Maybe that's what they're referring to, right? If they think that they can get a loan because the corporation is not incorporated, right? We use the sort of like the you as the business. And yes, we have done this loan for sole proprietorship corporation. We do credit card for them as well. The only thing is that it's going to heavily impact you as sort of like the owner, but also the company, right? Whether in a business loan, an LLC, an S corporation, a C corporation, we don't report in your credit report when we do a loan for you, right? We focus on the business, cash flow heavily. So if we do a loan for you, you're not going to see that sort of in your credit report. We pull your credit and we see how, in terms of your character, and we sort of combine your credit with the business to do the first initial loan. But in terms of reporting, we don't do that for your personal. But when it comes to sole proprietorship, yes, we will report it, and we will use you as the owner, guarantor, and personal guarantor as well.
Well, thanks, Anna, very much.
Of course.
I would also add,
So-
Tommy, just
ahead,
if I
Gary.
may, we keep saying this in a commercial for M&T, but some businesses aren't going to be, like you said, line of credit or loan ready. They're just not going to have the foundation set for their business yet to take on that type of debt. And we understand that's the case, and we don't want to just say, no. Our goal is to establish a relationship and continue that relationship and being an advisor. And part of saying no is advising you why we're saying no and explaining the risk to you and your business if you were to take on that debt, or if we were to give you that debt. And we are also able to advise you of what your other options may be. A credit card may be something that can help, but then there are other lending options as well outside of M&T Bank. We have good partnerships with some mezzanine level banking, and I won't get into the detail of that, but it's essentially, debt between senior debt and equity for a business that is another option. And we have good relationships with other folks like that we can make referrals to. And again, our goal is just to establish a relationship and help you get to where you need to be.
Okay. Hey, look, appreciate you both. A lot of great information. This was M&T Bank's day, and we greatly appreciate you all taking the time out of your busy schedules. For the question in the chat about the presentation, the answer is yeah, we'll be emailing the presentation. We got permission from Anna and Gary to share that, and so I thought it was hung in the chat, but it's not. But we will get that to everybody that registered. You'll get a copy of it. As I close, so next month on I think it's the 20th of April. My dates might be slightly off, but it's the third Thursday of the month. I can tell you that at 1 o'clock to 2 p.m. same time, same station. We'll have the SBA Dr. Donna Peebles, who is their SME on all things 8A, and then Mr. Desmond Brown, who is the OSDU for the Office of Personnel Management. But if you got any questions after this is over with, you can contact us. You can go to info@mbda-virginia.com. That's our office email, and Alice, Claudia, and I will check that box and respond back to your questions. Again, thanks for coming. We couldn't be successful if we didn't have an audience, and we greatly appreciate you. We know time is money, and Gary just put his contact information in the chat. We won't sign off till you got that. But again, thanks very much. And
Tommy, just in case you guys have any other questions or concerns, or we can clarify any of this point in the slide, our information is on the slide itself. You can get in touch with Gary and myself. That email and cell phone is in there. So please feel free to contact us at any time. We'll get help.
Yes, and this was recorded, and it will be put on our website and on our YouTube channel. So if you need to go back over it again, you can see it in perpetuity for that matter, because it'll be out there. We know what happens when it goes to YouTube. Okay. All righty. Thanks very much, Anna and Gary. Greatly appreciate you.
Thank you
visiting
for
us.
having us.
Yeah,
All
thank
righty.
you so much, Tommy. It was a pleasure.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Take care.
Bye.
All right. Great job, team. Yeah.